So we'll just start soon. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes so we'll get more KMAC members on board as well. We'll probably start at 7:03. I'm expecting 2 other people. Share my screen in terms of, oops, I'm going to put up the agenda for tonight. So hopefully everyone can see the agenda, is that correct? Just nod your head, perfect. Okay, great. This is the agenda that we're gonna follow tonight. We'll have a roll call, we'll have citizens' comments right after that. We'll have the approval of the meeting notes that were from our last meeting, October 5th. And then we'll talk about the project that is being presented tonight at 340 Coventry. So first of all, when I mentioned we have a roll call, I'm gonna just say who's here. We do have a quorum, it looks like. We have Larry Nucci, we have Lloyd Cowell, we have Adam Novikas, and myself, Patrick Tahara, the chair. We need 3 to make a quorum, so we have 4, so we definitely have a quorum. What that means is that we can make recommendations for KMAC. We can recommend approval or recommend denial and move it on to the next step, which would be to the zone administrator for projects that we have. So with that, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Citizens' comments is the time that are meant for citizens of Kensington to provide any comments that are outside of the meeting agenda tonight. So I don't know if anyone has any citizens' comments in regards to the meeting. If not, we'll move on to the approval of the meeting notes from October 5th, 2021. I believe that everybody, the KMAC members, have received those meeting notes. And I don't know if there's any comments regarding the meeting notes that were for that meeting, October 5th, 2021. And I will put those up quickly, I think. Yeah, see, I will. So if there's no comments, do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, Patrick, I move to approve the notes, the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
And we have, so we have Larry is making a motion to approve the meeting notes of October 5th with a second by Adam. Do we have any comments or questions in additions to the motion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay. We have, I believe that we have Larry, Lloyd, and myself, Patrick, as aye, and I believe that Adam is just abstaining because he wasn't here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. All right, so thank you all for your patience in terms of the first 3 housekeeping items that we normally have. We are here to also talk about 340 Coventry in terms of the proposed project. So with that, I'm going to read a couple of items that every project that we review in KMAC as we go on. And these are the 5 general plan policies for the Kensington area that we have. If everybody can see it on the screen. This project also has a variance as well. So I will read the 3 items that also the project will need to satisfy in order to recommend approval of the project. So for the general plan policies of Kensington, the first one is to allow for the review of new residential development that provides reasonable protection for existing residents in the Kensington community with regards to views, design compatibility, including building bulk, size, and height, adequate parking, privacy, and access to sunlight. The second is the preservation of views of the scenic natural features, for example, the bay and mountains, and the developed environments regarding, for example, the bridges and city skylines should be incorporated into our review. The third is the review of the proposed residential development for the design compatibility with nearby developments. For example, building mass, height, mechanical activities, and provision for adequate parking. The fourth is the new residential development will be reviewed against realistic impacts of privacy and sunlight on surrounding neighbors. And the fifth is if we have a non-residential development, all four of those items apply. If we, and this one is not, it is a residential development. So those are the 5 general plan policies for the Kensington area. So the second item I'm going to mention is the required variance findings. And there are 3 variance findings that we need to see in this project. That the first one is that any variance authorized shall not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations on other properties in the vicinity and the respective land use district in which the subject property is located. The second is that because of the special circumstances applicable to the subject property, because of its size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings, the strict application of the respective zoning regulations is found to deprive the subject property of rights enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity and within the identical land use district. And the third required finding is that any required variance authorized shall substantially meet the intent and purpose of the respective land use district in which the subject property is located. So with that, those are the 3, those are the general plan requirements as well as the required variance findings. With that, we will review, put this one item up. I'm gonna stop share because I wanna just make sure that I write down the process of how we will review this project. So I think this has a little bit of difference because it's a Zoom meeting as opposed to when we meet in person. But here's the procedure. The first is the applicant presents the project. So Kira, you can present the project. Second is KMAC can ask any brief questions to the applicant. And then what I will do is then open the meeting to the public. So anyone in the public that would like to speak on behalf or have concerns about the project. At that point, I'll ask the speakers to identify themselves. I see people on the Zoom thing, so I'll make sure they have that. And then, and then the speakers, the public can ask questions. I will then, if there's any questions or comments that the applicant wants to respond to, that will be toward the end of all the public speaking. And then what I will do is close the public comment and discuss it amongst ourselves. We may ask a couple of questions to the applicant again, but then at that point, we will hopefully make a recommendation of recommend or approval of the project. And so just to let you know, KMAC does not approve or deny projects. We only recommend. Our recommendations are held hopefully in highly esteem with the zoning administrator and the planning department. And what they do is take our recommendations and they then present that to the zoning administrator, which will then make a approval or denial at that point in time. So hopefully that will make some understanding of how we have our decision process and how this process works. So with that, I am going to go with just describe the project, and then I'll have Kira, if you want to present, we'll do that. So it's 340 Coventry, VR 211034. The applicant requests approval of variance to allow a 5.5 foot side yard aggregate setback where 8 feet is required for the main and lower level additions, a 0 foot setback where 20 feet is required, and a 1 foot side yard where 3 feet is minimum for the 2 off-street parking spaces. And as an as-built 3-story where 2.5 stories is the maximum, all on a lot with the substandard average width. The project also includes a Kensington design review for the main and lower level additions, a new uncovered rear deck with spiral stairs, new windows, doors, as built garage conversion into a living space, legalization of and improvements to an existing lower level area. The approximate resulting gross floor area, the GFA, to 2,704 square feet is under the GFA threshold of 3,100 square feet for the subject property. So I know that's a long description and a lot of, it is definitely an interesting project in terms of what the applicant is asking for. But what I'm gonna do is allow Kira, if you wouldn't mind, to present the project. So if you want to present also the project itself, so.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all council members as well. And the homeowner is here, Alessandro Pinto, is joining us as well. So thanks for hearing our project. Am I able to share the screen so that I can present the drawings?
Yep.
Great.
Go ahead.
Can everyone see that all right? Great. So these are the drawings submitted to the county requesting the variance as described, sort of a mouthful. However, it's really a lot simpler than that when we explain it and look at the project. So the house is existing non-conforming, meaning the side setbacks are non-conforming right now. So there is a reduction in the, you know, from what planning allows. However, house was built in 1930, and so weren't the houses adjacent to it. And, you know, this has been existing for a while. Also, the front roof line of the house and height of the house at the front we're proposing no changes to that, which is the original height of the house as seen from the street. This is a photograph of the back of the home, and here is the subject property, an aerial view in the context. So, you know, really showing that this house is on a very long lot. It's narrow, 40 feet wide at the street side, where 60 is recommended in the R6 zone. But it's really long. And a lot of the neighboring houses extend much further past the rear of this home. This is one of the smallest footprints along the block, and also one of the largest lots. The lot is 7,850 square feet. We're allowed to have a 3,100 square foot home on the lot. And so we're proposing an addition of 382 square feet, which brings the house up to still well below the allowed maximum square footage for the lot. Like I said, we're not proposing any changes to the height at the front. We are proposing a very small addition at the front, and we'll look at the elevation of that. And then the additions we're proposing at the rear are mostly at the rear of the house to provide more living space at the main level and lower level. These are some zoning diagrams over here, which describe the proposed changes at each of the levels of the house. This is the lower level of the home. So this is the existing living space here. Can you all see my mouse okay? Where I'm pointing? Great.
Okay.
And then this is the proposed addition here at the lower level. And then on the main level, there's an existing outdoor terrace shown in the photograph here. So we're proposing an addition over this terrace and extending over to the side. This addition at the lower level and main level complies with the 5-foot side setback. And then at the upper, also at the main level, excuse me, is the very small addition at the front to the entryway. And that's outside of the front setback. And then at the main level, there's no change proposed at this 3rd story condition. So what we're really asking for with the 3rd story is that, you know, we're allowed to have what exists at the back of the home, which is the lower level finished space, the main level, and then this kind of split level upper bedroom. This is the only room on this 3rd story. You can see there's a small stair here. So the front bedroom over the garage is at one level, and then up another level is this back bedroom, which creates the 3rd story. Looking at the site plans of the property, here are the context diagram. So, you know, the property at the back corner here, it just touches the commercial zone at the Kensington Circus. And so some of the mixed use commercial area, there's also some ADUs or secondary buildings at the back of the property here. So there's really kind of like this a little more dense area over here. And then you can see the neighboring properties at 342 and 338, both footprints of their houses extend much further beyond the 340, even with the proposed addition at the front and the back. And looking at the site plan, so we are requesting, just to point out the property line and the existing house and the setback area. So the existing house is non-conforming with the side setbacks. The proposal is to allow for the existing converted garage space to remain. And therefore, we'd like to request that the legal parking space be made in the front of the property. Because of the date of the home was constructed in 1930, we are only allowed to provide 1 parking space. And we would like to make an official parking space at the front of the house within that front side setback area. Here they're showing 2, however, we only need to have 1. And this is the proposed new addition at the back. The proposed addition at the front has a gable roof consistent with the existing gable roofs on the front. And then at the back of the house, the addition and then the terrace with the stair. And just to kind of quickly pass through the drawings, the scope of work of the new addition is shown in the bold hatch here at the lower level. Family room, office space. At the main level, this is the existing covered entry here. We like to keep that in the same style, compatible with the house, and but also provide a little more space at the entry for a new closet. We also would like to provide a seismic upgrade at the garage space and provide some shear walls on either side to support that properly. The addition is at this back part of the house. The existing house is a 2-bedroom house, and Alessandro and his family live there, and they have 2 kids. And so they really need another bed, a 3rd bedroom. And so the goal, one of the main goals of the project is to create a 3rd bedroom, which we would like to do on the main level here, and also create a larger kitchen and open living space. So that's what the addition, the main part of the addition is at this level. And then the terrace to provide access down to the patio. The views are amazing. So we want to, you know, they want to take advantage of that from their home. And then the upper level, there is only a window change at the back bedroom here. You can see the split level nature of the 2.5 and 3rd story of the house. And the new gable roof over the entryway will just provide a little more attic space, unfinished. This is the existing roof plan, and this is the proposed. And we have existing and proposed elevations as well. So this is the existing front of the house. And here is the proposed front of the house. We would like to do a similar style garage door, but provide some opaque glass to let a little light inside, provide the sheer walls. We would like to maintain the character of the front with the archway entry, covered entry, provide a little more light in the entry with a glass paneled door, and restore the existing window at the living room. This is the existing side of the house. And this is the room that is converting to a bedroom. So this faces pretty close to the neighbor. So I would like to convert the windows to, you know, opaque glass for privacy, a little higher up, awning style. And then this is the side of the addition of the back with the stair down to the patio. The existing and proposed south elevation of the home at the back of the house. You can see the existing French doors and terrace here. This window does not really provide access to the terrace without climbing over the windowsill. So we would like to make a better, you know, more open living space, as well as, you know, gain that 3rd bedroom at this level. So we're proposing an addition back here. This is the kitchen at the middle, the bedroom here, and then this is the dining room open living space with some large glass sliding doors that open to the fairly modest terrace that leads you down to the patio. And then we're replacing the doors that need replacement at the lower level as well. We're also proposing a new window up at this bedroom here. The massing of this is a little different than the rest of the house. However, the scale of it and size of it is still complementary to the home as well as to the neighbors on either side. And this is the side setback. So you can see how it's jogged back off the side of this house to comply with that 5-foot side setback. And then finally, the last elevation shows the west side of the house. This is the living room here. And then in the distance is this terrace. And here is the new proposed addition at the lower level to provide more space for a music room and family room. This is at the dining room right here, and then maintaining the windows at the living room space, and then coming out on the small terrace with access down to the patio. I'd like to just wrap up by looking back at the beginning here of the drawings, and just kind of reviewing that we are requesting that we get a legalization of this 3rd story condition of the home. The house was purchased with finished space in the garage. The previous owner had actually done a bunch of illegal work and illegal conversion of things without permits. So we are seeking retroactive permit for those items. And unfortunately falls on the current homeowner, whether or not they did the work or not. And that includes some conversion of the garage space, which prior to the sale of the house was supposed to be converted back. However, it was not fully converted back to a garage. So Alessandro and his family have had this kind of converted garage ever since they purchased the house. And so, I think that they are getting the parking on the street is pretty easy because of the site condition of it. There's no neighbor across the street. Across the street is the water treatment plant. So it's really like a fenced in parking area, a fenced in park area. So there's no residential houses on the, across the street here, across Coventry Road. So traffic is fairly minimal on the street here, with only having residential homes on one side of the street. So, parking is not an issue and is fairly ample. And they're able to park their 2 cars fully inside the property line. So that is another reason why we're requesting this be allowed for the parking requirement. And then, we're seeking support for our proposed additions at the front and back of the house.
All right. Kara, good presentation. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to just ask the KMAP members if you have any brief questions before I then send it off to the public. So I just will mention that Chris Bryden, Vice Chair, is actually came on board. So he is attending the meeting as well. So there he is. So let's just go with this. I'm going to go with Larry first. Any comments or questions you have to Kara?
Sure. The first question I would have, and I'm sure it would have come up at some point, I assume you've conferred with neighbors and have some feedback from them. Can you share with us what the reaction has been of the adjoining neighbors to this plan? Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So far we haven't heard any, complaints or from the neighbors about the project.
I think Larry's question is, did you engage the neighbors at all in your development of the design in pre-designing?
Yeah, I can take this question. I'm Alessandro Pinto. I live there. And we moved in Kensington in 2011. And our relationship with our neighbors is actually very good, both sides of the house. So they are, of course, aware of our intent to extend the house, the project that we're thinking about. They have so far they have been always very supportive. So I don't see any, I would say, negative reaction from them. I have not shared the drawings with them, but they come to our house often, and they stay with us, and we described what the intent of the project is.
And my understanding is it doesn't change the current situation with parking. Is that correct?
So no, currently we park our cars in the front of the house. There is a large space in front of the garage. And pretty much what I have seen is that that's what everybody pretty much does. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've moved it since 2013. That's how you've parked, is in the front. of the property.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
No, that's my primary question. That's
okay. Adam?
Thank you. Thanks, Kara. Would you be able to pull up really quickly? I didn't catch or fully understand how you're changing the front with regards to the parking spaces before and after.
Yeah, sure. We're not really changing much about the parking spaces in the front. But yeah, I'd be happy to pull up the site plan. Yeah, so, you know, the existing front, this is the existing front of the garage right here. Okay. And currently, you know, the park in the driveway right here, basically where the 9x19 is shown. And so our addition, you know, kind of comes out to here with this new entryway and the steps here. So, you know, the 2 parking spaces are
okay. So I'm sorry, nothing's moving closer to the neighbor than was prior.
No.
It's just the existing setback. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Nothing is changing about the driveway. Probably have to pull up some of the pavers and put them back after. But.
Okay. Thanks. So the main incremental, if incremental variance is a proper term, seems to be on the northwest corner of the backyard, or northwest back of the house, where the terrace is and the new terrace is going to be, and everything else seems to be a pre-existing condition.
Yes,
the exception of that section
is located at this southwest corner.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
And it's a two level.
Yes, got it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Lloyd, do you have any comments?
No, not at this time. Thank you. I had a chance to look at the packet and also distributed the notices, so I'm good.
All right, good enough. Chris?
The 3rd story condition, that's not new.
No.
Right, it's what's there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so, and it doesn't look like, other than the front, you're really changing the envelope. So the only real change is at the front of the property from an envelope perspective?
We are proposing an addition at the back.
At the back, so there is something in the back, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the existing envelope at the main level.
That's not creating a 3rd story condition, that's just, that's part of the 2-story.
Yes.
Correct?
There's no addition proposed at that 3rd story.
Right, so what's driving the variance is just that you're taking an existing condition and calling it out.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. One was a very small one, or what you had mentioned, Kira. I think you said that on the, I guess it's the south elevation where the bedroom is. If you show that you changed the height of the windows. Let's see if it's on the 2nd floor, or the 2nd floor. It's on the other side, so it'd be on the east side. Sorry. East elevation, and the windows there, are they actually opaque or are they translucent? I know that you said opaque. I would think.
Oh yeah, translucent. So they let light through, but they're privacy. Yes.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
And okay, and then you did that because this is a bedroom, or it faces the neighbor's property's bedroom. Is that correct?
Yeah. There isn't really a neighbor window right there, but it's still very close to the neighbor's house, so not much to look at. I think the other reason is really for furniture, that they want furniture here and not have it against the window.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And then, excuse me, the other question I had was actually the parking again, and it's really not the parking per se, but you have a note on it looks like currently it's an exercise room. I'll go back to the existing garage, I should say. So on it's an exercise room, but then you're providing a new garage door. So I guess my question is, so the thought is, even though you're asking for the variance or for the parking spaces, that this area, which is now called exercise, will not be converted into a garage. Is that correct? I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you remove the gym equipment, could it still be a garage?
It just is not deep enough.
Okay.
So yeah, you could park a smart car or
okay.
Yeah,
maybe that's the okay. It's really because it's really too narrow. I mean,
it's not long enough to consider a real car.
Okay. I got it. What is that dimension? Do you know?
It's 20, it's like 21 feet. So it would accommodate the 19-foot depth you need for the car, but it doesn't fit two. It looks like a double wide car, but this county requires 9 by 19 and it only fits one, but it has at least 20 feet in depth. If back to here, but to this point, it's only like 14 feet.
I'm sorry, what's 14 feet?
Yeah, so the depth of the exercise room here,
right, is only 14 feet. You're saying?
Yes.
Okay, got it. That's the
There's your problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If you could park your car sideways in there,
or somehow, I'm not quite sure, but yes, thank you. Okay, that was my only other. Okay, good enough. At this point in time, I'm going to open it up to the public. If there's any public, any people that any person wants to speak other than Kira or Alessandro, you can speak on behalf of the public as well, if you wish.
I can add the comment, maybe, I don't know. And I think Kira said it well. There are a couple of things that have happened since we moved to Kensington. We only had one kid when we moved. Now we have two, and also they're now growing up. One is almost 12, the other one is almost 10. One is a boy, one is a girl. They have different tastes. They don't really want to share a room anymore. That's one. The second thing that happened is COVID. And for that reason, I work from home mainly. I do have an office here in Berkeley. I'm sitting here in my office now, but actually this office, it's supposed to be closed. So I work from home every day. And so in office space in the lower level where we are proposing some addition as well, that'd be useful for me. So that's pretty much it. And also there is some uncertainty whether COVID is here to stay and whether I'm going to have to be home for the rest of my life. So, having a comfortable space would help. That's the comment from the public, in this case, biased because we are proposing the project, but that's the only thing I had to say.
All right. Thank you, Alessandro. Kira, did you want to have any last comments before I close the meeting to the public?
No, I think I said everything that I wanted to.
All right. Well, thank you. So at this point in time, I'm going to close the meeting to the public and just talk amongst ourselves. So I'm going to just go from starting off. I'll start off with Chris this time. So
from what I've seen, it looks like, again, and while there's a change the envelope in the front and the back, it's where all the variances are required, they're just existing conditions for the third floor and the sides, there's nothing really that's changing there. So my view would be we're just kind of approving what was a pre-existing condition, which we've done a number of times before. And again, the houses that were built prior to the existing rules, just generally don't comply.
enough. Lloyd? Yeah. I don't see Lloyd now.
We lost Lloyd, but you got me.
Yeah, we got you. So I'll go to Adam then.
Thanks. I agree with Chris. It seems like all the variances were already there, with the exception of the back, which kind of extends an existing variance. So I don't see it as a major issue. Also, it's improving the safety of the property with the seismic upgrades, and it's going back and getting everything getting it approved properly through the county. So I think there's a lot of positives to be seen with the project overall. So I'm good with it.
Okay. And Larry?
I agree with everything that's been said. I also, there seems to be no issues with the neighbors. The parking situation is just the way it always has been. So it seems to me to be perfectly reasonable and a positive thing, this project.
Okay. And it doesn't look like Lloyd is on. I also agree with all the council members in terms of the comments that have been made. I think it was and thank you, Kira, and for your presentation. It was very clear. And Alessandro, for your commentary as the owner. I think it's going to improve the property. It looks like it's within, as we talked about, the variances. If they were not pre-existing, it might be different, but since they are, I think it's definitely within the scope of what it is. It's an old house too, and just being able to improve it, and also as I think it was Larry saying, or maybe it was Adam, putting it up to getting the permits, getting those getting those areas permitted and accepted by the county is a good step. So I don't have any other comments with regards to the project itself. So so at this point in time, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I would make a recommendation to recommend approval for VR 21-1034 in that it meets the requirements for is it two variances or three?
Two?
I think it's three.
Both sides, or is it just the?
It is
the aggregate side, and do we do all, or is it just the height and the size?
Well, the third story, and then.
That's what I thought. Okay, so that it meets the requirements for all three variances, and that they represent existing conditions, and that it meets the intent of the land use district.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, and so I hear a motion from Chris and a second from Adam, and I get a text from Lloyd trying to get on.
You may need to be readmitted. There you go.
Yeah, I don't see.
Welcome to a Zoom world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point in time, so I have I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. I have a motion from Chris and a second from Adam. Do I have any comments regarding the motion? Concerns? Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? So we have 4 ayes, or definitely a quorum. So Larry, Adam, Chris, and myself, Patrick, have recommended approval. So congratulations. And you're moving on to the next step. So
thank you everybody so much. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Good. So what I'll do is I'll send the county just a note tonight or tomorrow morning saying that we had recommended approval of your project. We'll have the meeting notes later on, but definitely the planner. I think, who's your planner? Is it?
It's Everett Louie. Oh,
Everett Louie. Okay. I'll make sure that Everett Louie gives that information in terms of that. And you might want to contact Everett to see how quickly you can get on the agenda with the zoning administrator for the next step.
Okay, yeah, I will do that. Great, thank you.
you.
Thank you very much for joining. And you may wish to stay on for the next agenda item. It will be quick, but definitely going to talk about it. So let's see. So the agenda item is, and this was something that the next item is the discussion regarding the KMAC meeting starting January 2022. This is something that Larry had just mentioned. When are we going to get to be in person? And so right now we are somewhat, as I understand it, might be. There was an executive order by the governor that in October, I believe that councils and commissions needed to be, that members needed to be present in person, while others can join by Zoom. Unfortunately, our location and our setup that was trying to make it work in the community center was lacking in technology, I'm going to say. And Chris Bryden definitely had looked with the county, I believe, in terms of how that might work out. But Chris, maybe you want to share just a couple of little notes about your meeting and then what was decided.
You bet. Yeah, and still working with the team. The challenge is the way the room was set up is, at minimum, it was set up for streaming, but really kind of one way in effect. You know, it's auditorium style, so it's not set up at all to accommodate a Zoom meeting. So it wouldn't be able to include the community in the way it currently presents itself. So we either need to be in person or in Zoom if we want to be inclusive. I do think the room is big enough, theoretically, that we could do it in person. We could all sit 6 feet apart in a line if we wanted to. And with the amount of folks we generally get to a KMAC meeting, with the size of the room, we could probably do it. I think it'll be a question, Patrick, if we decide to do it in person, we'll have to do it in person, or we'll need to continue Zoom if that's, you know, again, depending on what happens with COVID. But the room itself is not set up for a two-way conversation. It's physically set up for streaming, so we wouldn't be able to see the public you know, it talking to us or interact with them. It's set up for a presentation, not for Zoom, unfortunately. Right. If we were to all go in and add Zoom there, we'd all need a laptop, and then we'd overtalk each other, and it would just be a disaster. So I'm working with the county, and while it is set up for streaming is currently not available. So it's a theoretical ability to streaming. So right now, all we could do is record the KMAC meetings and post them online for, you know, meeting minutes perspective. So again, I think we'll have to, at some point, depending on what the county, the state decides to do, either continue to do them via Zoom until it's possible to do it in person, and then just move back to full in person, and, you know, allow enough space if that's what we need to do for people to feel comfortable.
All right. I don't know, Robert, do you know anything more in terms of getting the room set up? I know that there was some discussion with regard to the county, but I know what the backup is right now, and I can tell folks that, but I think the goal was to get these meetings to be in the community center. What I've been told is starting January, we will meet in person, the KMAC members, and there will be a option for the public, I believe, to meet by Zoom, but we will all have to meet in person somewhere. And I was told that the library might be set up for that, but I'm not quite sure.
That's one of the options, Patrick. You're right. We were going to potentially look at the library as well to see if it's more effective for that. The other challenge with the current community center is that it requires 2 or 3 different types of keys, and you've got to gain access to the physical room. You've got to gain access to the back room. You've got to gain access to an electronics room to turn on the equipment. So it's physically prohibitive to what we're doing. So the library is the other option that we're potentially getting. So I'd say hopefully over the next few weeks, we'll kind of go back. The county was looking to bring everyone together in John's office, and we were going to take a look at the library and take a look at if anything could be done to the physical site. But as it currently stands, we're either going to be in person or Zoom to include the public.
Okay, and let me just ask you this, Chris, then. If the library doesn't work, does that mean that we are going to be meeting? Can we meet in the community room?
We could meet in the community center because, again, we only need one key. We only need one key. We probably wouldn't use the electronics. We wouldn't bother to try and video it. Right. But what's nice about the community center, it's done really well. It's a large space. So again, we could all sit, all 6 of us could sit 6 feet apart in one way, and we could allow the community to engage and keep the doors open. So I think physically we could make it a very safe space, but there's just no way if we're all sitting 6 feet apart to see the public on Zoom. So it's going to be one or the other, unless I don't know what the setup, they haven't scheduled the meeting to the library, what the setup in the library is. If it is set up where, think of it as a TV monitor with a camera, and we could all, join by a video conference, then we could do it that way. But that may limit then public access to the library. So again, I think we're going to pick one or the other at the end of the day.
Okay, good. Sorry, Robert, do you have any other insight about this?
Sure. Thank you, Patrick. I want to say first that I appreciate everybody's patience. This has been a little bit of a thorny issue, and ideally it would have been resolved a long time ago. But unfortunately, here we are, and we'll work through it. I wish that it were as simple as an either or scenario, but unfortunately it's not. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be able to meet solely in person. That's not going to be an allowable public meeting activity in the future. Presumably this will be official in January. All public meetings will have to have a Zoom component. In other words, we will have to meet in person, but any member of the public from anywhere must be entitled to participate in the meeting. And it's going to be on us to make sure the technology is there to make that happen. Now, unfortunately, it hasn't happened in the community center for a lot of reasons. Chris, of course, articulated some of those. That was very good. I can tell you from my own experience as the North Richmond MAC administrator that there it was very simple. We have a small room there, and we went in with our county technology team, and we added a laptop and a television and a camera. And now those meetings are broadcastable to everyone, and everyone can participate from anywhere. And the MAC members can meet in person as well. These challenges apparently remain in the community center. And so out of the lengthy period of time that we've attempted to make that work unsuccessfully, I think the decision's been made at this point that we're going to go ahead and focus our energies on the library. We need to go somewhere where we can get this done because it's going to have to be done. And again, the goal and the requirement is that we have to have a physical meeting space for the meeting, and people have the option to come to that space physically in a safe manner. And also people are able to participate from anywhere they are. Because what we don't want is a situation where a public meeting has to be attended by someone in order to participate in it, and that someone may be immunocompromised or have some other issue. And so for that reason, they could be imperiled by physically being required to attend a meeting. So in sum, we don't know exactly how we're going to get there, but we have to have meetings that enable physical location meeting as well as remote participation.
Yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do too, Robert. I would say what you described for the Richmond MAC is probably the same thing we would do. It can easily be accomplished with technology any of us could buy on Amazon today. Just the way they put it together, it wasn't set to work that way. It wasn't set in thought with Zoom in mind or COVID in mind. The only thing is the last dispatch I had from Sonia was around beginning of November. and they haven't pulled the team together to really look at the library. I've offered, and I'm available to go over it anytime to help them with that. The question is, what I don't know about the library is physically, is the space big enough? I do think we used to use the smaller room in the community center, that if we were given, as you said, a TV and a camera and a laptop, we could accomplish it, Patrick, in the original room that we used to work in, because it's a small enough room where we could accommodate the community and accommodate all of us looking at a screen with a camera. I just don't know what the room in the library is like to be able to answer whether or not, to your point, Robert, whether we could safely accommodate ourselves and the public in there, depending on what the rules are at the time.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm. I will just ask the question because maybe Robert knows where I'm going on this one. I'm a little concerned. I understand the timing now that we need to meet in person and the public can meet by Zoom. I guess I question that it will be in the future. I'm going to say future meaning in a year or so, that we have a Zoom meeting where the public can Zoom in. And I'm only saying that is because of the fact that we're losing, I'm going to say part of this is as we're losing, we're putting technology first and foremost, as opposed to meeting in person. And I feel that as much as we want to think that what we're doing now in Zoom is just the same as meeting in person, I don't think it is. I think the city, the town of Kensington or the community of Kensington, it's only 1 square mile. I don't find that that is any different than what we did before COVID and why we would have to comply to have a Zoom meeting. I am not opposed to having what you might say, Chris, broadcasting it, but I do think there is validity of having both the public and the KMAC members sitting in the same space.
Yeah.
I question by trying to make it so you're accommodating people. We have always accommodated people in every shape and form before COVID. And I don't think by putting this particular item out there in the future, I'm going to say, when we're past, and I hopefully will be past this in some point in time, to make this an ongoing situation where the public can Zoom in while the KMAC members have to sit in person. And so that's, that's my thought. I'm really not for this as being a long-term situation. And I find we lose something by not being able to gather in person.
So can I ask a question? Is the
Sure.
concern for people who are, you describe as immunocompromised, right? Because I teach at Cal. We meet in person. We have classes. We have faculty meetings. And it's because 99% of the students are vaccinated and 97% of the faculty are vaccinated. What is the concern here, and who is driving this? If we, I mean, this is one of the most highly vaccinated communities in the entire country. What are we doing?
You have your hand up, so.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, what? Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Larry. To be honest, I've physically been to the space, and I think it's, everyone's got their own level of risk, but I think it's a very safe space. It's wide enough. It's open enough. It has several open doors where I think you could have a meeting. You could have a very safe meeting with the community. Again, we don't get, other than the occasional cell tower, right? We don't get maybe more than 5 to 7 people at a KMAC meeting plus us. So in that scale of a room with the amount of open doors you have, I would agree with you. I would feel completely comfortable. But again, I'm not, I can't say that I'm in that category where I would be at risk, beyond the normal risk. So I get, Robert, what you're saying as well. But if you don't provide us the technology to do it, the current setup doesn't accommodate it.
Exactly. I mean, what's wrong with an N95? Okay, I have to do that. I mean, I have an N95 mask. They're not that rare. I'll provide them. I think there's a certain overdoing. I appreciate everything that Patrick was saying, and you, Chris. I really, this is, I think, kind of extreme.
Yep.
Well, I agree. I think it's inconsistent with what the WCC USD as well. I mean, our kids have to be vaccinated. They have to go to school. There's no remote education being offered. If you want a remote education, you have to homeschool yourself, your children. So it seems like we're and Robert, I don't know if you had your hand up because you wanted to speak, or if you just left your hand up.
He was high-fiving you.
Oh, okay. It's inconsistent with other parts that are coming from the same county. So it's to me it's odd.
May I speak?
Yes, please.
So, and apologies, I'm not sure what our typical social convention is. I don't want to interrupt anyone. That's why I put my hand up. But I will try to find a place to speak in here. With all due respect, it's not inconsistent in my judgment. I think that we are substantially in agreement here. I think that we're kind of saying the same thing. Patrick, Larry, we want to meet in person. We will return to in-person meetings. We see the value in in-person meetings in a safe manner, and it's going to happen shortly. The only difference is that these in-person meetings that anyone can come to are also going to be broadcast and allow participation beyond in-person. And that's the exact same thing that the County Board of Supervisors is doing now, and doing it quite successfully. And MACs all over the county and other public meetings all over the country are adopting this format. Essentially, it's what we were doing before, plus one. And that plus one is unlimited participation, regardless of space, regardless of location. And that's something that people who value public participation in democratic institutions should be applauding, of course. At the same time, yes, vaccinations are high. Yes, we have COVID on the run in this county to some degree. And yes, there's improvements. But at the same time, we have to be vigilant, and we have to also understand that pandemics now and in the future are going to continue to impact our way of life. So when we have our meetings restored to in-person, the beauty is there are people who have serious disabilities. Maybe they can't get out of the house. Maybe they don't have transportation. Maybe they're deathly afraid of contracting a deadly virus because of their age and otherwise infirmity. Now, all of these people can safely be included in our meetings as well. I really can't see a downside to this approach.
Yeah, Robert, I'm with you. I just say what we need is the technology to do it. So I think as long as we have it, as we've stated, the current setup was set up for a 1990s conference call, a one-way streaming. So as long as the county provides the technology that enables us to do it, I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing in people that can't make it. I do think the meeting is, as my fellow KMAC members have said, it should be in person. That is what a community meetings are out. But you're right. There are the disabled. There are people who can't make it, and they should be included as well. So I think as long as we provide technology that enables us to do it in a functional way, I think we're all for that. But it's just the current setup is not for that.
I'm going to say that Chris and Robert, I can agree to disagree on the future items. I do think that the in-person meetings before COVID, we had accommodations for people with disabilities. We cannot say we did not have that. And we can continue to have that. I just think that we lose something in value.
I agree.
By using technology as a substitute for an in-person discussion when that's what it's about. This is a community, again, it's only 1 square mile. We don't get a ton of people more than what we normally do, whether it was been Zoom or whether or not we have it in person. We have the same amount of people. It's a matter of people being responsible or being concerned about that particular item. That's why they come out. It's not because we have a Zoom meeting that they can participate in. And if those people cannot make it to the meeting, we've had many times where they've written letters and we tell that, read it out in public in terms of those letters that people write. Those make a difference. And I'm just trying to say that I still question the fact that we'll have one rule for the MAC members and one rule for the public in that sense. They can decide, we can ask the public, yes, you should show up, but they're not gonna be compelled to do that unless they actually come to the meeting. And so that's the reason why I feel strongly about this, because as we all have gone through the COVID, we sit on Zoom meetings day after day after day after day, and it does not substitute those meetings we have in person. It really doesn't. And I really feel like the stuff that we do in the community makes a difference in terms of how we present that in person. And so I don't disagree for the time being that this is the way that we're going to work. I don't disagree that we should still continue to have the Zoom meetings. I guess I disagree as we move forward. It's not +1. I think it's -1, because what we're minusing is really the public. You're minusing the public by not having them be there in person. You do not build community by Zoom meetings. You build community by meeting in person, seeing your neighbor across the street and talking to them directly at a meeting. And so that's why I feel passionate, because I've been on this community for so long, way too long. And that's what I see. I see community people get together and talk about it when they walk out of the meeting. You cannot do that on a Zoom meeting. You really can't do that. So I really feel very passionately that it is the wrong direction, especially for KMAC. Now, whether or not it's for other communities or other committees, fine. But I'm just, for myself in this, I'm just thinking of Kensington. And that's where I really feel like that is really important for us, as we always try to say we're unique. We're unique because we build that community very strongly. And by kind of making it separate, I find that a little troubling as a long-term solution. So I know we're not going to solve any problems here, follow what the county is going to order in that, but I do think that we did need to have this discussion, because come January, we will be meeting in person if we do have, applications.
Yep.
Whether it's the library or gathering somewhere, that we can have connections, internet connections, so we can have those meetings.
Yeah, we'll have to pick up the pace of our technological solution.
We will.
If you want us to be able to accommodate a Zoom plus in-person KMAC meeting, because now,
all I'm going to just say right now is it may be just us sitting around a laptop in a room with the 6F, and we're just going to sell to the public. You're just not, you have to zoom in.
Yep.
Don't see how it works out any better than that. So I don't know, any other comments, questions?
Adam, you're not going to lean in. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't think we'll cure world hunger tonight, but I'd say, Robert, if we could, I'm more than glad I'll continue working with Sonia to find an accommodation that works to accomplish the goal. So I'll keep working with her. And as I said, as Patrick said, we're only a mile or so wide. So I'm not more than a mile from the community center. I work at home, as most of us do these days. So with a day or so notice, I can find my way over there, and I'm glad to work on accommodating a solution that works for today.
Thanks for helping with that, Chris.
Yep. Okay, it gets me out of the house.
All right. If there's no more discussion,
Call it a day.
Yeah.
I recommend adjournment at 8:14 p.m.
Okay.
Or make a motion to recommend adjournment at 8:14.
A motion from Chris, making a motion at 8:14 to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Right. Larry from a second. Any comment or discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we have 4 ayes, no opposed. Larry, Adam, Chris, and myself. So we are adjourned. We will not meet in December, as you all know. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that before. We're not meeting in December. Our first meeting would be the first Tuesday in January. At this point in time, we don't have any applications.
Okay.
So I don't know if we get him in within the next week. We may have a week, maybe 2 weeks. We may have it, but if not, we may not meet until the last Tuesday in January.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.